Hello all, welcome to this panel discussion on data and analytics. We at IIMKAA are celebrating our 25th anniversary. This session is conducted as part of Tech Talk series organized by IIMKAA Kochi Alumni Chapter in collaboration with IIMKAA Alumni Association. In today's business, decisions are increasingly being data-driven. Analytics helps the business to answer common questions like what has happened, why something has happened, what is likely to happen, what actions to take. Different areas of analytics like descriptive analytics, diagnostic analytics, predictive analytics, prescriptive analytics, text analytics are used to answer such questions and enable business to make data-driven decisions. I am Rakhee from EPGP 05 batch and I currently work for EY. I'll be the moderator for today's talk. We have three distinguished panelists from our alumni network along with me over here. Our first guest for today is Banarji Balakrishna Pillai. He is from EPGP 01 batch and works as consulting manager for analytics within Experion Global. He is also an entrepreneur. He's co-founder of RoadE Labs, which does projects in machine learning. Welcome to this broadcast, Banarji.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you, Rakhee. And thanks all for joining for this wonderful session.
Our next guest is Manuj Bharadwaj. He is from PGP 12 batch of IIMKAA. He is the regional sales director at Qubole, the open data lake company. He comes with a lot of experience in sales and marketing in this field. Welcome to this program, Manuj.
Thank you, Rakhee. Looking forward to the discussion.
Ganesh Prabhu, he's our third panelist. He's also from EPGP 01 batch and currently works in the field of business analytics, IoT, industry solutioning, and energy management. He is currently employed as architect with Gadgeon system. Welcome to this event, Ganesh.
Thank you all. I think thank you Rakhee for the introduction. Yeah.
Before we kickstart the discussion, I would like to let you know that the views going to be aired by us over here are our personal views backed by our experience in this field, and they do not represent the organizations which we belong to. So towards the end of our discussion, we will have some time for Q&A. Please post your questions in the chat window, and I shall be taking those questions to our panel. Once again, let me welcome all of you to this event. Hope you enjoy this event.
Thank you.
What is analytics? So we are hearing a lot about analytics, data and analytics, and every company wants to have some kind of analytics incorporated within their organization. So Banerjee, considering that you are an entrepreneur and also you're working with an organization, why do you think there is a great amount of buzz around it across the globe?
Thank you, Rakhee. So I'm given the opportunity to bat up the order as some Sehwag's or Tendulkar's role here. So yeah, so that's an interesting way to start this discussion, I suppose, because I'm sure whether irrespective of whether you're in IT or you're out of IT and your management grads plus you are a technical guy or you don't have a technical background in IT, doesn't matter. But these days you hear a lot of buzzwords. I'm sure that you have heard about artificial intelligence, machine learning, analytics, deep learning, computer vision or video analytics per se, natural language processing, a lot of buzzwords. And it's quite obvious that if you don't have a good technical background or a considerable experience in IT, at least you have, if you haven't been in IT for some time, it's obvious that you might get confused with all these terms and think, okay, what is analytics? So that's an interesting way to start. I would say to keep it on a high level and explain it in a simple one-liner, I would say it's a journey. Analytics is a journey from information to insights and then to actions from or strategy and tactical measures out of those insights. So let's put it like this. So we have information everywhere, and you would agree to me that the 80% of data that exists today was created in the last decade. So let's say it could be of different use cases. For example, we are talking a lot about social distancing these days. So what is the information related to social distancing, or what is the information that can tell us whether social distancing is there or not? So probably there's a surveillance camera somewhere on the street, which actually keeps recording the videos of what's happening on the street. And the information lies somewhere on that street, like people walking or people standing on the street, all those video or the image frames that comes to the surveillance camera is an information. So out of this information, you want to know whether social distancing norms are being followed by people. So you will have this devices, probably like cameras, transferring these videos to some black box. I would say black box now, because as a layman, you'll be seeing the black box of AI or computer vision or video analytics there. So what it does is like it takes this information, it digests that information, and it would measure, like it would convert this information into machine readable data. So like it will measure the distance between people who are walking on the road, who are standing on the road, etc. And it'll calculate whether that's more than what we have prescribed for social distancing. So this is a journey. It's a journey from the information somewhere on the street to an actionable insight, okay, which tells that, okay, at such and such time on this street, social distancing is not followed. So that's an insight that comes to a person who is monitoring it, and from there he can take actions on that. So at a high level, this is what happens with analytics. So it could be computer vision, it could be some machines on a manufacturing floor that gives you this information. It could be an ERP system, or it could be somewhere in a database, or it could be in a simple Excel file, and it could also be somewhere you have a handwritten report and you want to derive what this report talks about. So obviously there you'll have to read you in the sense that machine learning black box or the AI black box, the analytics black box has to read through this report and derive, okay, what this report is telling about. So there you will get all this cognitive AI or the NLP, natural language processing, video or image processing, or all those coming in, and it will give you what the document is talking about. So at a high level, it's a philosophy that every organization has to look at, rather than in silos. Those are like different technologies, I would say. IoT, Internet of Things, artificial intelligence, machine learning, text analytics, video analytics, and let's say business intelligence, for that case dashboards and reports. All those things comes together, works in a harmony, and gives the actionable insights onto a person who takes the decision. So this is what analytics is all about. So what essentially, it's not silos of technologies, or it's not silos of buzzwords that exist, but it's more like a harmony of all these things, which should work as and when needed, which should be there as and when needed, and you'll have to connect all the dots and you get the insight of that. So that is analytics from a high level viewpoint. Now, yeah. So as management graduates, why should we talk about data science is the second question that comes to us. So one point to that is, this is one of the hottest job that is coming up in the market, or is in the market, and probably it will hit in number by, I would pick the number by some 12 million by 2026 in 5 to 6 years. So that's a metric that comes out. Second, there is a lot of gap existing in the market from my experience. The gap I would refer to as you have in the market like a business analyst and salespeople who has been working in IT industry for products as well as services, consulting for clients, so who are good at sales and who are good at understanding the business. And so on the other side, you have data scientists, you have technical people, technical architect who are good with the technology, good with programming, good with building up codes and doing the automation. But there is a gap. The gap I identify here, or I would like to present here, is the gap between the sales team and the technical team. So you need someone who understands what is data science, and you need someone who knows the business as well. So the data science without a business use case or business value is good for nothing. So you need to have someone who understand, okay, for this business problem, this is the data side, or I can fit this kind of analytics here, and this is the use case that the analytics will fit in, and this is how I should build it. So that is where I think the management graduates comes in with the good knowledge of business and good knowledge of statistics and other technologies there, and know-how of how it works, and you just combine it and act as a bridge there. So that's a role that I think is very much valid for management graduates these days. So combining all those things, data science is more about business and applying all those technologies for the value of business. And as management graduates, we should be there to help the society with that. So that's what I think in a high level it's all about.
Yes, that's beautifully explained, Banerjee,
Yeah,
and
thank you.
a very good introduction. So that actually puts you, Manuj, on the spotlight because you come with a lot of experience in sales and especially in the field of analytics as well. So considering that we do have a lot of opportunities and all, and you do have a good amount of experience in big data and data lake. So those are some of the big things in the market. So will you be able to let the audience understand what are the trends in the market, and especially for big data, data lake, and how are these things related to analytics?
Sure. I think thanks, Rakhee. So let me, pick on what Banerjee had mentioned, that 80% of the data has actually been created in the last 2 years, right? What this means today is, with the proliferation that we have around different ways where we are generating data and capturing it, there is a lot of data being generated every day. And what is really big data, right? Big data is characterized by a few things. One is like the volume of data is really large, the velocity of data is really large, and the variety of data is really large. And that's what we are seeing, right? So when Banerjee mentioned that there's going to be different kind of data which is there, that essentially refers to the variety. The amount of data we are generating every day is huge. So that refers to the volume, and we are generating it really fast, right? So that refers to the velocity. Big data is nothing, but it's just a way of analyzing these different sources of data, right? So it's not I would not complicate it. I would just simplify it. I would just say, like, if you've got limited amount of data, then there are certain technologies which work well. When you've got a large variety and volume of data, then you need to bring in a certain different set of technologies to make it work. And that's all that big data does, really. It helps you analyze this data. But the overall uses, how you're going to use this data, how you're going to, do your, you want to understand the past, like you mentioned, you want to understand what's going on today, and you also want to predict the future in a way. So those use cases remain the same. It's just that the technology which helps you do that changes and that evolves. So that's what big data is. And there is definitely, what I've seen in the last few years is that the kind of use cases, the kind of way companies really want to leverage data has gone up. They're capturing a lot more data. They're trying to ingest, they're trying to figure out as many sources as possible. And the more information you get, the more sense you can make out of it, the better your insights and your actionable items are. So definitely I'm seeing a strong trend towards big data. At the same time, this is also very nascent and evolving state. So the kind of technologies keep evolving every few months. So the key thing is for me, for any professional, right, is to actually focus on how can you use this information, right? While the tools will change and you will adapt to it, but the key thing is like having that perspective on how do you want to use this information, which is something which is going to remain constant.
Yeah, that's right, Manuj. So, as you rightly said, it's evolving. All the technologies in analytics sphere, it is evolving, and I would actually say it is evolving even the moment we are speaking. Someone on the other side of the planet, or I mean, other side of the where we are staying, it is actually they are doing some kind of analytics and some developing some kind of methodologies that is actually making a needle movement as we speak. So that's right, Manoj. So yeah, but the basic concepts remain the same. So insights. So insights, we are always talking about data-driven decisions, and insight seems to be a generic term, but from an industry perspective, Ganesh, can you help me to understand how analytics can help in deriving insights to the business?
Yeah. Thanks, Rakhee, for the wonderful question, and I also thank Banarji and Manuj, who had set the context very well, so that so what these buzz terms and market trends in terms of. So generally so let me start with a basic stepping back, saying that there is a terms called data, information, and insight. So these are synonyms, but while in reality they are not. So data means it's a very raw or a just unprocessed form of a data. So it can be a text or a number, so etc. So it can be qualitative, it can be quantitative. So there are different forms of data access, and usually it is a computer understandable form, like it could be in a database or in a spreadsheet, etc. So that is called as data. But when this data is processed and and aggregated to a different terms and then generated, it becomes an information. So that is then what happens is this information is presented to you in different forms, so which you would be familiar, like it could be a dashboard, it could be a visualization, it could be a report. So these are the terms which you get. So these are all informations. So then what once you use this information to build or derive some conclusion, it is termed as insight. So this means it is a pyramid. So basically where data, then information in the middle, and the insights on the pinnacle. So now you understand so how the insights are. So like I said earlier, so generally the industry has a perception that these are synonyms and we can use it wherever, but it's not. Then now let me address the question of, so what is the expectation in terms of industry. So I think Banerjee and Manuj has already addressed about the actionable insight. Yes, of course, that is though it's a buzzword, but that is what the ideal expectation of industry. But how it can be made possible? So what happens is, often in industries, so the data lies in silos. So basically to derive an insight, you need to bring in data from different silos. So that is where by integrating all these data, so you make an information. So from this information, so you derive some insights, and using those insights you derive some actions which should obviously give you some results. So that is what so generally like Banerjee mentioned earlier, so let's take an example of a machine in the shop floor. So as a maintenance manager, what should I, like the machine will be generating unlimited amount of data, and it could be locally stored or in cloud today. So but what should I do with the data, and how I can use it? So that is a main question many people are having, especially the maintenance manager, because they may not be very well equipped with generate insights using those data, because the doing that manual processing may not be the right way. So that is where this though it's a buzzword, but actually it has a lot of meaning of actionable insights. So what it means is from the insights it gives you actions. So whether it could be reducing the set point of the machine, whether taking some corrective action of replacing some part of machineries, etc. So that is the expectation set in the industry. But often so many what happens today's industry is the information are sold as the actionable insights today. So yeah, that's about the insights. I hope we can continue our discussion so that we can use. Yeah.
Yeah, derive more insights. That's true. And Ganesh, I like the point where you added even reading from the text. All those things also add to the insight. So let me just elaborate on that.
Correct.
Even the text analytics, right? So nowadays, some of the companies, they deal with a lot of contracts. So especially a legal firm which is involved in in reviewing, developing contracts for multiple companies. So text analytics comes into picture in such scenarios wherein which an individual doesn't need to go through the entire contract, but the text analytics will be able to pick up the keywords and help the reviewer understand, okay, what are the main things in the contract? Is the contract written rightly? Is there a gap? Or is there something which they need to revise and write it? So yes, absolutely. Insights is a, a big thing, but yeah, we'll be able to understand more as we go along in this discussion.
Correct. Sure.
Yeah. So yeah, and Manuj, considering that you do work with many companies, and we do understand that with COVID, many of the companies have moved to work from home. Okay, and what do you think analytics? How, if I put in other words, how do you think analytics has changed pre-COVID situation and post-COVID situation? Do you think analytics has evolved during this period?
So I definitely see that analytics is evolving, right? Due to the COVID impact. I think COVID is something which has impacted pretty much everything out there. And I work in sales, right? So what I do is like I speak to a lot of these companies, understand what they are looking at, understand what challenges they are seeing. Uh, with the impact of COVID, while there has been sort of a effect where a lot of industries have gone down, one thing which is common is that the need for analytics has gone up further, right? Today I don't have this way of interacting with people or figuring out information. I've got all of my employees sitting at home, so all of my if I'm running a BPO, for example, all of my agents might be sitting at home and trying to take calls. I don't have a TL who's going to monitor them, right? So now it's more and more important to capture all of this information and make sense of what the world is. And the other thing is like it's unprecedented times, right? I think we often hear that term, but it is true, right? Like there is nothing that you can fall back on, say like this is how the world is going to play out. So the only way you can really make good bets on what is going to come is by being able to understand what is the data around me and what is happening through data. So what I've seen is like there has been a huge push by most of the companies in trying to set up some sort of a unified data analytics platform, which helps them combine all of these different data sources that they're talking about, ingest more data, and then then you take, once you have the data, then it's up to you on how do you figure out what it means for your particular industry. But there's definitely, I would say it's a positive sign in a way for analytics. I think the importance has gone up more due to COVID.
Yeah, that's right. Because sitting at one place itself now, people at top of the business who are actually the key business decision makers, they are able to analyze what is happening within their organization, and they are able to make quick decisions. Yes, I absolutely agree with you, Manoj. Okay, now next question. It's to all of you three, because I know that you three have varied experiences in different domains. So maybe starting with Banerjee and then Manoj and Ganesh. Will you be able to help with a success story in your respective domains? So something which we all can relate to. Yeah, Banerjee, you may go ahead.
Sure. So I would say one or two of them, because those two falls on the two ends of two different extremes of this entire analytics spectrum. So one is regarding a predictive analytics solution that we had to provide to one of the electric vehicle client who was more like a startup, who's just into the market. So as we know, someone who launches a new vehicle and that too in electric e-vehicle technology into the market will be very much concerned about how his vehicle is going to perform on the road, because that's an actual practical condition that the vehicle is going to hit, rather than the industry inside the industry test conditions. So in that case, you'll need the data from the vehicle coming to you at larger frequency or continuous frequency, so that you know what, like if you have 1,000 vehicles on the road, how these 1,000 vehicles are running and what is the problem. Is there any problem with the vehicle, or is it all doing fine? So all this information has to come to you as a management person to analyze that, and then distribute from there to service centers, for example, if it needs to be repaired. So in this case, we had to actually implement a solution from end to end, from data collection to data analytics, and from there to insights. And from insights, we just wanted to suggest them like what is the kind of action that you can take on this insight. So here, what we did was like we had to fit in an IoT component into each and every vehicle once the vehicle was getting out of the factory, which will actually collect data from the vehicle and will send it over internet to the a cloud service layer. Cloud service is a server somewhere in Amazon, AWS, or Microsoft Azure environment. So it'll send the data in real time, and from the real time data, we actually had to predict which vehicle is going to fail in what amount of time. For example, if it's a battery, we would actually tell, okay, this is the remaining useful life with the battery, and you'll need a service or you need a replacement by this time. And it could also be like some prediction that, okay, these set of vehicles will encounter a problem with this particular chip or this particular component inside the vehicle. So you call that vehicle early into your service center and service it. So how it improves or how it delivers value is it actually creates a better quality sense with the customer, and near zero downtimes for the vehicle. So mostly this vehicle would have been used for commercial purpose, so it will be of a great loss if they have the vehicle in the service center for repair for 1 or 2 days, or if it goes breakdown on the road on a day. So you actually call them early to your service center and do the service, and so it's kind of a predictive maintenance that this organization is doing. So that's one thing. Second is where that's on the other end. So why I refer to the other end is it talks about automating your calls, outbound calls. So you at this organization, they are into real estate, and so they wanted to do a number of outbound calls, cold calls to their customer, and pitch to them, so that they wanted to increase the conversion rate somehow. So what if you employ a call center there, it is going to cost you, and you'll have a tough time to manage all these employees. So and from after a certain level of conversation, probably one someone you call can get converted into a potential lead, and from there it could be taken forward. It's you can say it as a qualified lead. So till that, they wanted a automated mechanism which can do that. So you have all those technologies in the market right now, which you can combine and create an automated voice bot, which will actually perform a call to a set of phone numbers given to it, and speak on behalf of your organization, pitch the product to the customer, and tell, okay, if you are interested, I can send you an email, or my call center person can contact you. Please tell your time for contacting, etc. So this actually reduced their cost of call center operation, or the if they would there had been if this was to work on a call center versus this working on an automated outbound call mechanism, the cost saving is almost about 70%. So that's a difference that AI can actually bring in. So I think these are the two use cases that comes to me at this point, that happens at two extremes of analytic spectrum.
Yeah, exactly, Banerjee. Even I'm also well versed within the marketing analytics, and I can completely relate to what you have said. Now, it's more or less like, how much time one spends on a web page for a particular shopping site, and how much scroll are you doing, whether you're
Correct.
spending some quality time. So all those account into deciding whether a particular visit has a qualified lead for the company, and based on which they make calls. And yeah, the companies do follow the GDPR policy in the sense if the customer doesn't wish them to be contacted. So those
Correct.
details they do collect before the AI implemented system goes and make connections with a potential customer. That's an interesting thing. And
Good
how
point.
about you, Manoj? Yeah,
Sure. So
in your
I
domain.
work with, sure, Rakhee. So I work for a company which actually provides a platform which helps you do analytics and data science, right? So my customer story would be more of, how our customers are using this. To give you an example, so we work with one of the largest food delivery app in India, and they have a huge data science team. They expanded really, really fast, right? At one point of time, they were present across 500 cities, delivering a wide variety of stuff. And what we saw with them was like using data science, using the tools which are available today. They were able to sort of, for each particular city, when you look at India as a country, right? It's a very diverse country. The food tastes vary, the kind of distances which are there, the kind of commute that a delivery person has from picking up something to dropping it to somebody, everything varies. And at the end of the day, the customer doesn't care about all this. The customer only cares that, hey, if I have a certain expectation that I should get food in good condition, it should be warm, it should come relatively fast, that's all they care about. So the way they use data science to actually personalize and customize this for each city has been really fantastic. So for example, in a city like Bangalore, right, where the commute distance is even though if it's like 7-8 kilometers, it's going to take you like 1 hour, right, in peak times. So there, in those cases, they try to figure out like which are the kind of restaurants, for example, that I show when you try to order through the app. How do I promote certain restaurants? If I've got a lot of delivery folks in certain area, do I try running certain promotions, right, so that I can distribute the load more evenly? So those are the kind of things they do. While say in a tier 2 town where the distances may not really matter, in that, and where they're trying to capture the market, there they may have a completely different strategy, and all of this runs in a very automated way. So it's I may not be able to share too many details, of course, due to because a lot of this is something which is confidential and proprietary for them. But it's been really amazing to see the kind of things people can do when they have the right kind of data and the tool set to make sense out of it.
Yes, Manoj. Yes, yes. Even though you are not delving in too much of details, we surely can make it because we all are using food apps, and it's an absolutely amazing technology they have incorporated. Yeah, that's right. Thanks, Manoj. Yeah. So, Ganesh, over to you, Ganesh. Will you be able to have an example in your own domain?
I think Ganesh, you're on mute.
Yeah.
Yeah, so as I come from manufacturing background, I thought that I will take the pain of a maintenance manager or so that story which we have resolved. So basically, it was a continuous process manufacturing plant where they have thousands of equipment. So in continuous process, what happens is each equipment is important because so an equipment failure means the entire plant has to be shut down. So given that the case, the maintenance manager has a pain of monitoring all the equipments, giving all the importance. And traditionally, we are following a approach of reactive, whether after breaking down, okay, we will solve the issue, or preventive, which is time consuming. So you can assume if you have to do a preventive maintenance of 1,000 equipments every week on week, and it's a pain. So that is where so we and it is a fully automated plant. You have all the data available, and it is just that that my team doesn't have skill set or the technology to transform those data to information and to insights and then take actions. So that is where so we were able to so of course one of the important experience which helps is the domain experience, basically the asset as well as the process. So that is where the platform which we have, we help them to collect all those data and just transform into information. So basically different types of dashboards. So basically an operational dashboard which can operational manager, he can look at time to time, an executive dashboard where the the leadership only cares about how my assets are performing on an global level or an plant level. So executive dashboard, and then give insights on what actions each operation manages to take on. So that helps them. So we call it as proactive approach. So which means that you continuously monitor the health status of each asset, and as and when this health is being turned into insights, the platform provides actions. It's not again insights, because so once you give the action, so it reduces the complexity of manager to do the root cause analysis, because the platform itself gives you what action I should take, right? So that reduces my time, so I can immediately take an action. Of course I can avoid the breakdown. So this is the kind of approach is it is not and like Banerjee earlier mentioned, so it needs a lot of data. You need a lot of AI and deep learning algorithms to be deployed to create such a actionable insight, because it doesn't come overnight. So that is another perception which in the later stage which we'll cover. So but I think so the fundamental is like the other case studies mentioned. So the actionable insights is the focus from industry perspective, and of course it reduces the burden of mostly the maintenance managers. And it was an very good experience for us also to closely collaboratively work with that customer and understand their pain points and create a solution for them. Yeah. Over to you, Rakhee.
Yeah, thanks, Ganesh. And I can absolutely relate to that. Rather than becoming reactive, you are analytics is enabling you to become proactive and take an informed decision at each and every
Absolutely.
stage of the life cycle of the business. Yeah, that's a wonderful example. I can even relate this to making quick decision about. Companies' health. I mean, those companies which are involved in preempting business and all, they can easily read the financial statements and make a kind of an informed decision and preempt business before the competitor does. Yes, absolutely right, Ganesh. So considering that, we have now understood, okay, how analytics helps in different domains. Ganesh, considering you have also worked within the manufacturing sector, right? Which people tend to think that, okay, I mean, maybe adoption of analytics is kind of a difficult over there. Do you see any challenges in adoption of analytics, not only in manufacturing domain, but in any other domain?
Yeah, I think so. From my past experience, so yeah, the primary challenge is, the data resides in silos. I think we already discussed, because so each department or systems has its own proprietary thing, and data resides on silos, and it needs to be integrated to make an information. So that is the primary challenge many organizations are facing. But at least the very recent ones, so they are well thought and design. But I think for old legacy systems to change, yes, this is absolutely a challenge, and there are many of them are struggling. But I think so companies like us are helping them to move forward and come up with a solution. So that is the primary challenge. Second is of course the resistance from the organization. So many times these data driven solutions, so sometimes operational managers see as a challenge for them, so because so they feel insecure that whether their job will be at stake or not. But in actual case it is not. So technology is an enabler for them to make an informed decision and move forward, and this actually helps them to grow bigger and and handle multiple portfolios together, rather than spending very focused time on very small things. So you can focus on that. The platforms or such data driven solution helps you to make such decisions. So another challenge which I see is the selection of the right solution. So what happens is, often people I will take an example of people has aspire for the BMW or Audis, but their budget is only for a Maruti. Okay, so what happens is the customers start negotiating and to meet their budgetary constraints. So finally what they think that they got a BMW, but finally what you got is only a Maruti. So that being said, the advice is don't select based on budget, but look at the overall business case. So whether that business case, okay, so if it is a return within 1 or 2 years, if you are getting the returns, of course you make the investment and enjoy the benefit of that. So that is the third constraint which I'm seeing. So the final one which I want to stress upon is the business goals. So mostly these projects or the data driven projects or the IoT projects for that matter, what happens is they are not linked to the business goals or the business organization is having. Okay, so what happens is all this ideally we start with a POC and we focus on the technical feasibility, not on the the business outcomes or the business outcomes which we want to achieve. So this is what I think
Ganesh, I think we have lost you.
Sure. So let me actually, while Ganesh joins back,
Yeah,
just
yeah,
picking up what Ganesh was sharing, because I sort of related
yeah,
back to the way
yeah,
what we see today, right? So one
yeah.
of the challenges he mentioned is like I've got my data lying in different silos, etc. And I think that's where a data lake sort of comes in, where you try to get everything together, and then you try to make sense of it in a holistic manner, right? Uh, One other thing which I've noticed, and we work with a lot of these companies which are actually at the cutting edge of data, right? One another key thing which I would always suggest any prospective client or any company which is looking at doing something like this is to keep in mind that technology is evolving really fast. So whatever solution you end up implementing, ensure that you're not getting logged into any proprietary format, because your data, if it's in a format which you cannot use with some other technology which comes up tomorrow, or you're logged in, then you're going to run into issues, right? So that's another key thing, right? As be aware that technology, this space is going to change very very fast and very very rapidly. Anything which locks you in terms of technology is probably not going to be a great fit from a long term perspective, even though you may see short term results.
And Rakhee, to add on to what Ganesh has told, I always remember
Yeah.
one key line that was discussed during the quality management class during our EPGP session. The professor used to
Yeah,
tell
yeah, we remember. Yeah,
the professor used to tell us that quality is not a cost; it's a profit. So similarly, I would bring that
yeah,
into analytics as well. So whatever you invest into analytics is not a cost, it's a profit. It is going to bring you profit in at least in next 1 year or 2 years. So you think about the in terms of profit that you are going to get from this, rather than thinking, okay, this investment is huge, so I'll curtail at this point and I'll go for a lower profit. So that's not the motive of the organization, right? So it's very much relatable.
Yeah, and just to add to that, like I can't think of
yeah,
a
yeah,
single world leading company today which is not using data science and data analytics, right? Think of any company which is a leader in its domain, right? Whatever it is, they would be doing. The way they have gotten ahead is like taking all this data and making sense out of it, which their competitors are not doing. So I definitely see it as a big business differentiator, and businesses are realizing that. Uh, Increasingly is what I'm seeing in the market.
yeah, 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 yeah. Yeah. Thanks, Manoj. Thanks, Ganesh, Banarji. That was very well explained. Now, Manoj, because considering that you do have good amount of sales background, right? I just want to understand something from your perspective. We do understand that, okay, there is one difficulty which comes, like, as Ganesh said, people will be expecting a BMW, but they will be having budget only for a Maruti car. So, in that perspective, what are the common pain points when you want to sell analytical products? So
Mhm.
maybe a company is specialized in developing analytical products, and they want to, sell it to other companies. So do you think there are any challenges rather than the expectation in the budget? Other than that, do you think any other challenges in that area?
Sure. So I think cost, like let's keep cost aside, right? Because everybody is concerned about cost. Everybody
Yeah,
wants to minimize their cost, and especially in analytics, as the amount of data that you process, increases, cost becomes an increasingly important factor, right? Because I need to think about if my data grows 10x, how I'm going to work, right? So I need to factor that in. Besides cost, right? Given that cost is an important factor, I think the other kind of challenges that I've typically seen is in kind of the talent that maybe in-house talent. So while you may get a platform, do you have enough people that can make use of the platform? even today, especially when it comes to data science, it's not something that anybody can do. I would say so. In my company, there's a saying, right? Like everybody needs to be technical. The degree of technicality may vary. So as a sales guy, I may not need to get into the nitty-gritties, but I do need to understand technology. And I think that's really true today, right? With the kind of tools that are there, getting the right kind of talent becomes really, really important. I see my customers struggling to hire data scientists, data engineers, data analysts, advanced data analysts all the time, right? So that's definitely one gap that I think a lot of the audience today would be very, very well positioned to fulfill. Especially because now you can get these skills, right? You don't really need to go and get a degree. If you can go do an online course, you can get a lot of these skills as well. So yeah, I think that's one challenge that I definitely see today across my customer base.
Yeah. So that's like, there is a lot of demand, but the supply is less. So even though you want to sell an analytical product, you need people who will know how to operate those analytical products really well to its potential. Yeah, that's beautifully explained, Manuj, of the current scenario. Uh, Banerjee, uh, so we have now, covered analytics, insights, and also we understand, okay, what are the common pain points? So next question will be on the insights which are shared by all these advanced analytics methodologies. Do you think, considering that these are being, this is all data-driven decision, right? So whatever insights which you get in the dashboard, these are basically what data is telling. The data is telling your story, which is backed by a proper analysis. Uh, do you think the inside sheets are reliable? Because some people, as you beginning you added, right? Some people are even now they are comfortable in doing a pen and paper work of what decision they need to take. So when you compare that to this data-driven decision making, do you think these insights are reliable, which are coming from such technologies?
Yes. So good question, Rakhee. So here we usually it's very important as well as management graduates that we should actually put this point up front when you're discussing with your client or when you're discussing with your insight. If it's a product, your to your product team, that okay, whatever you aggregate as data, that is what is going to talk to you. So data science is not a magic wand that can create insights out of air and provide. It's like whatever data you have, that is going to talk to you regarding what it is. So data quality matters. So how much ever we talk about all the technologies, all the kind of algorithms that can fit in, all the kind of beautiful dashboards, beautiful visualizations that we can present to you, at the end of the day, if you don't have quality data, then that's it. We cannot go further beyond that. So that is one thing. So it's all the journey should that's where I usually tell that this is a philosophy, not a something that you plug and play. This is a philosophy. The organization has to understand that I need to first create good data. So you need not wait for creating good data, but start with whatever you have. But it's a journey. It shouldn't stop like, okay, I have this data, I have put in an analytic solution now, and I got insights. I'm okay with that. No, it is not at all complete. What you need to do is like the next thing you need to do is like you need to improve the data quality, get more data from multiple. For example, if your manufacturing plant is not connected or not giving you data, you put IoT devices there, collect data from the machines in real time, then process it. For example, in you have a distribution network and you have your vehicles in logistics running on the road, and you have a set of distributors outside. And if you don't collect data from them, that's a gray area for you. So probably collect that data to improve the operational efficiency. So whatever analytic solution suggests today is not complete. It needs improvement. It needs more data to come in. Once more data comes in, you probably will find a better way to implement the analytics. You could bring some other analytic component inside the entire solution and then improve the overall value that it delivers. So it is always a continuous journey. It is a continuous improvement journey that goes on. So that's where I always refer to it as a philosophy that we should first understand, and we should first accept. So then only it creates a value. Second thing, what Ganesh told is very true. Some truth and some facts might not be that easy to digest once we the first time we see it. So this always happens. So an insight, it could be it could be wrong at both end. Like it could be a problem with the data which gives you a wrong insight, or it could be something that you have never discovered till date because you use your pen and paper, and this is something surprising thing coming onto your screen, and you say no, it doesn't happen that way. I have always seen it this way. That happens. So it could be a difficult fact that comes to you as a manager that you need to digest. So in that case, you will have to work with your client, or you'll have to work with the counterpart from the other team, trying to understand why he says that. And probably if you don't find any fault with the data and the algorithms that you implement, then this is the way that it should go. Like you should educate him on why it is happening and why it is correct. And probably that understanding should that acceptance should be there with your counterpart or your client side, so that it is of value to them as well. So if they deny it upfront, it is not of value to them. So actually this acceptance should happen on their side as well. So you also have a big role in educating what the solution is doing to them. So I think that is where the whole point of whether your analytics is correct or not comes in.
Yeah, completely agree with you, Banerjee. And I like the comment that it's philosophy. Yes, completely agree with you. So, analytics, it's actually a journey for any organization. It is not a destination, because at every point of time, there is always a scope of improvement, considering the advancement that is being made at on a daily basis. So that's a good I mean, that's a good way to relate. So everyone who is trying to enter into field also, they understand that, okay, data analytics needn't be, the statistics where you understand where to apply what algorithm, or you even bringing out beautiful dashboard. It also relates to data quality. Only a quality data will result in a quality output. So that's good. I like the philosophical relation also, which you have brought into analytics. Thanks,
Just
Van.
Yeah, sure. Just to add to what Banerjee was saying, right? The other thing which I realize is like, and Ganesh mentioned this, right? Like we are not at a stage where today a human being can be replaced by just those insights that you get. You
Yeah,
still need a person to make sense which insights are relevant versus which are not. To give you an example, we were working with a optical company, right? Like optical manufacturing company, and then they took all of their data, they ran these big algorithms on it, and they came up with multiple insights, right? One of these insights was that a person who is buying a point 0.5 glass will not buy a minus point 0.8, right? Like, but that's just not relevant, right? Because they're completely different things. But so you always need a human element, right, to understand. Like, I found these 100 correlations, right? Which one is meaningful? Which one is going to impact my business? That is something which I think we are a far long away from automating at any point.
Manoj, I think that gives you the question which you can answer. So, considering the game changer for today's business is how mature their decision science team is. What's your advice to the management students and graduates? So, what do you think they should be focusing on going forward? Because management studies is actually important, and also we are understanding that analytics is also important. So, what do you think they should be doing, and what's your advice?
Absolutely. So I think my only advice, probably to management student, is like, you guys have already done the hard work, right? You guys have put in the effort to understand business. You guys have you guys have built on that domain knowledge. You guys have understood the part which is actually tough to understand, uh, which is very very important, right? Like I mentioned, like just having data without an understanding of how it applies to my business is going to be meaningless. At the same time, my advice to management student is like, you still need to do the other half where you need to be a little technical. You need to be comfortable with numbers. Most of people who are doing, an MBA from an IIM are typically comfortable with numbers. That's the way our entrance exams are designed. But you need to be comfortable with statistics. You need to be able to understand how this data is being, how these insights are being generated really. So go out there if you are really interested in a career in the analytics domain, in data science domain. Make sure that you're upskilling on the technical side, and these are very easy to upskill. You have hundreds of certifications. You have online free courses, right? Like I have entered big data for the last 1 year. Right before this, I was working in completely different domains. But I needed to go through this. I needed to understand what is big data, what are the basics, what are the fundamentals, how does it, what are the trends which are driving this. So you need to be technical, right? Don't assume that just because I have a management degree, I'll be able to come in and I'll be able to be very productive. You need to have certain bases of technicality. So that's what my advice broadly would be. But Banarji, Ganesh, I'm sure like you guys can add more thoughts around this.
To add on to what Manuj has told, or maybe like I reiterate, at least what we need to, as a mass management graduate, what we should know is, suppose your technical team comes to you and tell, okay, there is a problem with this data and I cannot apply this algorithm here. So and in that instance, you at least you need to have the basic understanding of the statistics and the kind of techniques inside that, so as to question them back. Why can't you apply that, or probably suggest a way around for that? Okay, let's take the data in this form, and why can't you do a transformation of the data like this and then apply the algorithm here? Or let's say, okay, we would park this problem as of now here, and we look at the problem in a different perspective, in technical sense. So we should be possessing that technology and understanding of all this technology. So for example, say the client comes to say and client, or you come to understand that there is a data quality problem. So what you can do to improve this data quality is very much important for your analytics product to get solved, or your analytics solution to get solved. In that instance, you need to have a knowledge about what is IoT and what is the IoT component that can automate a data collection, or what is cloud and how can you use cloud, or what is edge processing, and how can you combine edge processing with cloud so as to create a solution that takes that or improves the data quality, or something like that. So you'll have to have a technical know-how of all these things, and a basic understanding of statistics, etc., as Manuj has told, so as to fit in that bridge kind of a role there. You need to communicate between your technical team and your sales team, probably. So that's where you'll be placed as. So I think well to go there.
Yeah, I think let me add to the where Banarji and Manoj I think like Manuj said, what absolute necessary is as management graduates. So you should have very good fundamentals on business as well as the technical. So it's fundamentals, not in depth. But so what you can do is, so if you want to position or look at a career as analytics, so you can position your background. So it could be domain knowledge. Okay, if you are having a domain knowledge, you can position as a back. Okay, so that is how, I mean, personally, I have done it. So when, like I started my career in a manufacturing plant as a maintenance, but today, if I look at it, I work on an entirely, different career path now. So the good thing is, like, so whatever past experience you are having, you try to dwell in. So it could be coding, because, so there is a lot of requirement even in analytics. So what happens in the backend is a lot of codings to be done, and to codings to be done, you need to know the business knowledge, because so it's not just pure coding, because so what customer ideally wanted, so you want to visualize. So that is how that coding to be done. So it could be coding, it could be visualization experience. So if you have a very good real business and technical, you can definitely a good sales and marketing professional, because so that is also a very niche position, because so normal marketing and the technical guys cannot do the analytics selling, because like Manuj mentioned, so he's doing it for last 1 year for learning, right? So it is not something niche, because so you need to spend some time in understanding the technology domain, and then you're the niche skills whatever you're having. So I'm sure so it is not that like complicated as well, because so in your leisure time you can spend like in a week 3 hours 4 hours. Yes, you will be able to pick up when you are about to start your next level of career. Yeah, over to you, Rakhee.
Yeah, even I would also like to add something because I have seen graduates from premier institutes within my team, and what could I make from them? It's like they do have a very good domain knowledge, and once they join the data analytics team, that domain knowledge combined with the technical knowledge, which is actually necessary, right? That gives them an additional edge because they are able to suggest better process, better procedure, and also they understand. Like one of you mentioned, like there are a lot of. I think Manuj, you had mentioned that there are a lot of algorithms, but making sense of these algorithms, whether it's right for the business, that becomes really a critical factor. That's how I put it. And management graduates, that's where having a management degree helps. So both the skills together, they can become the game changer in the work they do. Yeah. So yeah, let's now. I think let's pick up some few questions from our live session. So yeah, it looks an interesting question from Jayram. Do you recommend from Jayram is he's having a question. Do you recommend any good certification which gives more insight on data science or big data or course curriculum, which is more sufficient than what we learned? So look like he's currently doing his MBA or he's an MBA graduate. Manuj, considering that you have recently done a course in big data, you can we can start from you, and then we can go to Ganesh and Banarji.
Sure, sure. So I may not be able to give you as good a perspective because I'm not really a hands-on data scientist or a data analyst, right? But what I did find very, very useful is, like what I did, I can just share what I did. What I did was like I went, there's Udemy, there is Coursera, there are like bunch of these online courses, and they have got great courses from some of the best professors in the industry talking about the fundamentals which actually help you, come up to speed. From that perspective, I just went with some of these online courses. I found them really, really helpful to get those fundamentals right, right? Because when you go and have a conversation with anybody, right, whether it's an interviewer, whether it's a customer, whether it's a prospect, you need to have those fundamentals so that you can have an intelligent conversation. Otherwise, it just becomes too tough. So that's what I did. But maybe Banarji, Ganesh, I'm not sure if you guys have had a chance to, and Banarji may have, right? He does a lot of data science, so he may have more idea of the certification part specifically.
Uh, yeah. For regarding certifications, I would also go with you, Manoj. So the reason uh, certifications as such, the program, it's a more holistic program. So I would recommend to start with the basic fundamental courses on all those online platforms. You can use any of those platforms. All those platforms are good to go, I suppose. And start with the fundamentals. And also, even if you don't find coding your space of expertise, just have a look at the coding as well. Maybe one language, for example Python. Also go with some tools that can help you. For example, I know in at IIMKAA we had a course called econometrics where we use Gretel. I use it even today. It is one of the most brilliant, simplest tool that I have seen till date for quick analytics. Similarly, there are multiple other platforms that can help us. For example, Rapid Miner, something like that. So actually, and paid versions like SPSS, SAS, etc. So even if you don't have coding, you can still do analytics and you still do hands-on on that. But I'm telling is like for all this to work, you need to have good fundamentals. So look into the statistics part of it, and also look at a few code on Python, for example. Look at the Python code and look at how it works and what is the kind of output that such codes can deliver. So start with the basics. And once you're comfortable with the basics and fundamentals, I would recommend to go for a certification. The certification could be in anything. All those certifications can add value. It could be in big data analytics, or it could be visualization. It could be on probably on any of these tools as well. For example, the tools as well. For example, Tableau, or for that reason, Rapid Miner also provides certification. And in COVID time, actually, it was almost free. some of those badges and all were actually free, and you could actually enroll and could have got the badges. So anyway, what I'm telling is like, start from the fundamentals and then take the journey forward. As Rakhee earlier mentioned, it's not a one-time activity. You have to keep on learning that. So then go for the certification. Any of those certification will do good to you. Yeah, thanks.
Yeah, I think I will. I will also add few points where Banarji and Manuj has mentioned. So yeah, basically, so data science is a big word. So I mean, like, it's not fair from us to recommend a specific course, especially for data science, because it has a lot of. When you understand it, so you will understand there are a lot of bifurcation for that. So like the data visualization, data processing, so a lot of technology. So once, I mean, like Banarji mentioned, if you have some coding background, of course, you can try, because Python is the commonly used coding mechanism nowadays for the data processing and even for data visualization nowadays, because like Tableau, etc., they are used for data visualization, but which is paid version. So like, because the Python is a free version, and you can definitely explore much better if you are interested in visualization. So yeah, course certifications will add value, because so if you start with the certifications, you will feel that you have learned it, but so we don't want you to limit that. First, to get a sense of what you want to learn, so then get some hands-on, then definitely do the certification. So that is my recommendation, because if you start with the certification, you will stick to what you will feel that, okay, I have done the certifications and I have achieved everything. But that is not the case, because it is a very vast subject. So
And
I think
just to add to that, right? And it would also depend on what sort of role do you want to play. So, for example, if I want to be a data scientist, right, where I'm actually building models, then it's mandatory that I understand Python or some of those things. But if I'm more on the business side, right, where I'm actually maybe say I'm managing a team of data scientists, or maybe I'm customer success, or maybe I'm in sales, then just having a fundamental understanding may be good enough for me to land a job. In maybe something that I'm looking out for. So maybe you can evaluate that as well, but that would be really helpful.
Yeah. There are plenty of free courses, maybe the Coursera or the Udemy, even Microsoft and Amazon. They also give some free courses, but it depends on where you want. Basically, R and Python, they are the basic languages a data science understands or works on with. So there are many free courses on that. Start on that, and then there are different courses. Some are paid, some are free, depending upon which domain you want to be. Whether it, we told that, right? We have talked about text analytics, even the facial recognition, even the marketing analytics, so even the simple predictive analytics. So deep dive into it, depending upon your interest and where you want to be. So chart out a plan and then start with your journey. And yeah, there is no destination. It's always a journey. There is always a scope of improvement.
One thing that I would just say is like, sorry, go ahead. I was just saying, like, before you go for anything very specific, like go for a generic, like go for fundamentals, right? Don't go, I mean, you may not want to do like a Tableau course right out of the bat. Just make sure you understand the fundamentals, because the overlying proprietary technologies will change, right? It's not a question, they will change, and they will change very, very rapidly. Next 2 years, what we are doing today may not be relevant. And that's the kind of pace at which this evolves. So understanding those fundamentals is the key, right? For a long-term career in this domain.
Yeah.
All right. Thanks.
Yeah, that's right, Manuj.
Yeah. So just to conclude there, like there are a lot of roles, as Manuj has mentioned. So if you're keen on data, you can be a data engineer. If you're keen on churning out insights and building algorithms, you can be a data scientist. If you're more inclined towards a business, you can play a bridge kind of a role there, and you can be a project manager as well there, or a product manager. And there is something called as product analytics as well. So rather than a product manager, there is someone in a product organization called as product analytics manager. So that's a specific role where you are a manager for the product analytics. Whatever the analytics that the product has to understand, that is where you go and fit in. So a lot of roles are there. So it depends on your inclination towards all these things that you should choose the course, as Manuj has mentioned. So just first understand what is that is of interest to you, and then proceed with the fundamentals. And from fundamentals, you pick out a set of technology or set of things needed for you for getting into that role and improving. Then choose the certifications there. So that's the best way. Yeah.
Yeah, that's right. So I think it was a very good 1 hour, approximately 10 minute session. It was really a great session. So thank you, Banarji, Manoj, Ganesh. I really enjoyed it, and I'm sure all the participants who have joined this event, they also enjoyed it, and I'm sure they might have also received some good insights about data and analytics. So thank you, Banerjee, Manoj, and Ganesh for making your time and sharing your insights in this event. Thank you to everyone who has joined this broadcast.
Thank you
And
all.
there are a lot, yeah. So there are a lot of interesting programs lined up today. As I mentioned earlier, IIM Kozhikode is celebrating 25th anniversary. Please check our event Bright page and register for webinars. And stay tuned. So take care and stay safe. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thanks, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you. Bye bye.